Hello, yeah. Ah, Christian. How are you? No, I'm just sitting here. Yeah, it seems very odd just sitting somewhere. Oh, my God, you mean she's left? Oh, I am sorry. She might have chosen another day. I mean, Christmas Eve? Dear God. No. Renee's in the kitchen. Oh, something to do with the turkey. Goes on for hours. Look, old chap, I am sorry. Well, I mean, Christmas Eve? Come round if you feel up to it. No. Renee loves visitors. Right, yes. Fine. I'll see you then. Bye. I did tell him. By the time she's 40, you'll be 70, I said. She'll be lying there expecting the earth to shudder, and you'll be at the foot of the stairs trying to coax one foot to go in front of the other. I knew I was squandering my time. I could tell by the look on his face. He pretended to be listening, but his eyes were all still and lost, like the windows of an empty house. He lifted his whiskey glass and drank it down in methodical gulps. It was like watching a pelican swallowing a fish. Then he made a conductor's gesture with his glass before delivering it to the table. "You're right, old man," he said. "I know you're right." And with the scarlet lining of his grey jacket fluttering like a little flag, and the heavy cloud of his aftershave asphyxiating everybody in his wake, he left the club. There's an art, keeping a woman, you know. It's not all this tender loving care, make her feel secure, say I love you every day stuff. No. It's another thing. It's a thing that only women think they have. Mystery. A man must always be like a ship in a mist. She must never quite see him and never quite know him. A woman only wants what she can't easily have. Ask my Renee. A happy, balanced, fulfilled, and more importantly, slightly bewildered wife. Yes, I was very lucky with Renee. Something about these Northerners. They're the root powder of family life. And they have this tenacious loyalty. Comes from being brought up in claustrophobic conditions and having bins in the backyard. I said to my daughters, we're very lucky with your mother.
Oh. 23 years I've been doing this. That's 56 million people in the country, say 20 million families, say 12 million turkeys every time it's Christmas. Oh. A time for peace and love. But not for you, my friend. When I was single, I suppose I was single once. I seem to have dissolved in the classroom and been reassembled in the kitchen. Anyway, I vaguely remember that I wasn't going to get married. I was going to meet somebody rich, have his love child, and spend the rest of my life in Harrods. Then I met Bruce. I'd gone into this shop to buy a record of Leonard Cohen, and he was there asking for the French version of Carmen. He didn't flirt with me or anything like that. He just bowed slightly and gestured for me to get served first. Well, I couldn't find my purse, so he just stood quietly while he emptied my bag on the counter. And then I started to worry about the personal little packages that kept cropping up, so I put it all back and called the whole thing off. 5 minutes later, I felt a tap on my shoulder. "You're Leonard Cohen," he said. He didn't stop. He just handed me the record and disappeared into the crowd. Now, that's what drew me to him. It was the subtlety. It was like reaching for a butterfly. Suddenly you feel it was never there. We met again several weeks later. He always says it was fate. But I know it was basic female logic because I took up residence in the record department of the same shop until he got fed up with Carmen and came in for the pearl fishes. We were married 2 months later. Oh, God, I hate this tiled cell. When the kids were young, I used to peel things, hurl them into a pan and stand them on the cooker. Oh, they didn't have microwaves then. Everything was natural in those days. And the three of us would go off on an adventure. Formby Sandhills.
I see you, Mummy. I see you.
New Brighton Beach. Donkeys, crabs, shrimps. The big ships going into the repair yards like rich ladies drifting into a beauty salon. It was Parkgate, rows of little cottages with white linen cloth tables outside and brown paper-faced women selling cockles and prawns and on the fishing boats limping home with their boxes of panting ray fish and spotted flukes. Oh, spotted flukes. There were so many things living in the world. Not like today, everything's sick or dying. Anyway, 10 to 5, and it was time for us to make our way home. So it was the 15:15 ferry, the 74 bus, and by the time Bruce came home, I'd got a light under each pan, and I was standing by the cooker with a suitably stricken look. All day I'd been locked in this kitchen, I'd say. And he'd hug me and pat me, and if it was a Friday, there'd be the usual chrysanthemums and a box of nut brittle. You see, everything was all right then. I had time. I could sit in life's garden and I could see that the flowers weren't growing, but I could think to myself, well, never mind, there's always next year. Not like now. Oh, I know I'm attractive. Well, fairly attractive. But there's a bit of a landslide around the chest area. Now I could wake up any morning and find it all in a heap on the floor. Men don't have to worry about these things, of course. I mean, when his chin sags and his sideboards turn grey, he enters the rugged era. But that's it, isn't it? It's just another one of God's cock-ups.
I met my wife in a record shop. I can't remember what happened. But she stood out, I know that. Not in a beautiful way, but in a different way. I was a young man then, of course. Just moved up here. Every time I saw a woman, one that attracted me, I always used to try and imagine what they were really like when they were on their own and being themselves. I used to imagine some of them lounging on a velvet sofa, wearing bits of silk and golden slippers. Some ran barefooted amongst wild flowers. Others lived in trees and snatched at unsuspecting males, delivering them to a pouch of poisonous liquid which slowly turned them into subservient husbands. But I saw Renee as a simple, uncomplicated girl. She had this lovely innocent smile. It was like switching on a light in a dark place. I saw her in a white bathrobe, bringing into the room of my imagination not the pouting, seductive nonsense which saps a man's emotional and physical energy, but 2 large beakers of cocoa. It's a comforting dream. Fate had already set her plans, because when I walked back into the shop several weeks later, there she was. Chance in a million. We greeted each other not as the strangers, which we really were, but as lovers. She took me to this little place, the Stork Hotel, all painted white. She liked the cobblestones in the courtyard and the little window boxes. I always have coffee here, she said. And we stayed there a couple of times. Just for the night, of course. Not the sort of place I'd choose, but she liked it. Renee liked it. Ah, yes. I'm a lucky man. Do you know I've never walked through that front door to find no meal on that table? Oh, yeah. Not exactly a culinary genius, but it's always there. Doesn't matter how late I get in, she's always waiting to have a meal with me. Those other things I saw on her face in the record shop. Of course, if I had my way, I'd go abroad for Christmas. But Renee's not one for travelling. She's got all the characteristics of a homing pigeon. She likes to conduct her own little orchestra in her own little kitchen. Ah, I'll tell you, if you were to put a £50 note in one hand and a wooden spoon in the other, she'd go for the wooden spoon. Well, it's northern, you see. Can't beat 'em. Family will turn up here tomorrow. Our daughters and their husbands. A few stray relatives. Oh, the whole thing bores me, but... yeah, she likes it. Renee likes it. Ah, Pamela. Everything all right? Good. Yes, I will. She's in the kitchen. Don't forget the invoice, will you? The one that we talked about. Oh, and check the answering machine over the holiday, will you? Right. Yes, I will. And you, darling. Bye. My secretary. She's a nice girl, Pamela. Fair, fragile looking. She's a bit tall for me. Not that I'm interested. No, no. Yeah, Renee's not a very romantic woman. By that, I mean I'm the one who always has to put the match to the fire. Sometimes I look at Pamela and I can feel my hormones picking themselves up off their knees and marching through my veins. Bells ringing, flags flying. It's that little glimpse of thigh as she shifts about in a chair. A low-cut blouse, a slight pale wrist with a fine gold chain. I know she would. Well, man can tell. And sometimes, when I lie by the side of Renee in her practical nightie, Renee entombed in night cream, hovering on her little domesticated cloud, Renee composing tomorrow's shopping list and planning her gravy and bleach-laden afternoons, I want to run from the house. I want to bury myself in the wild fragrance of Pamela and let all the boredom and frustration out. But then I keep telling myself I'm a lucky man. So I just get out the marital matches and light the fire. Afterwards, we lie like soldiers on guard. She in her half of the bed and me in mine. Made tired by the years, we wait for each other to sleep. I can see Pamela in the darkness, her fair hair blowing. Renee curls up in a little ball as if she's been violated and drifts back to her dreams of sausages and soufflés. At dawn, I sit by the window downstairs, watching the sparrows bath. I did that when I was 11 years old, failed the 11 plus. I suppose at dawn the world is full of faces gazing out of windows, watching the sparrows bath.
The girls are grown up now, of course. I taught them all the important things. Stand up straight, pull your skirt down. Don't raise your voice. Don't show your knickers. Got them safely up the aisle without any premature mishaps. Acquired 2 sons-in-law. One is built on the same principle as the sleuth. He's 2 years behind everybody else in everything he does. And another who works in a drawing office, designing conservatories for people who want to camp out but don't want the hassle. I quite like him. Although, in fairness, I think I should reserve my judgment until he speaks. They live in their own houses now, but they'll be here tomorrow. All of them. With Uncle Sid, Uncle Dennis and Uncle Fred. An assortment of living aunties and a mountain of tasteless presents. Christmas is a time for eating, drinking and being with those you love. I expect he'll be with her. He being someone I know. Her being his wife. I met Max while Bruce was away on business. I expect it was the flattery I fell for. He used to tell me I should hire my hands out for commercials. And looking back, I realised that acknowledging the fact that we are creatures of habit, I needed an adventure. The kind I had with my kids, a sort of deadline. So I used to peel things, hurl them into the pressure cooker, still hadn't thought of microwaves, and Max would be there, waiting for me at the Stork Hotel. It wasn't easy having an affair. Oh no, it's not easy, but... Well, Bruce's firm was expanding and he was so busy leaping up the ladder 3 rungs at a time that he didn't notice my diminished enthusiasm. I made a lot of suitable noises. Then I used to lie in the dark, listening to the stranded whale sounds coming from a man who slept with the thought that he had yet again caused the earth to shudder. He said to me one day, Bruce, he said, "Have you seen the birds bathing in the garden? They all cluster round like little powder puffs," he said, "fighting for their place in the puddle." And then he went on to describe it all to me as if I looked through the window with my eyes closed. Nearly 50 years on this planet, has only just noticed birds bathing in the garden. I suppose that's what I liked about Max. His mind pecked at everything. The smallest sadness, and he saw it on my face. "Are you all right?" he'd say. He had a direct line to all the minute miracles around him. He knew the colours in a raven's wing and the reasons for the sights and sounds in a forest. And we lay there in the Stork Hotel, in a tiny, threadbare room with its lifting curtains and the sound of pink scrubbed women in the market outside. "White celery, get your lovely white celery." And we clung and we whispered and I journeyed to places I'll never go again. I feel sorry for that poor bird. Every year when I slide him into the oven, I think to myself, why am I doing this? I think the same thing when I'm dashing home from the Stork Hotel. Years now I've been living a double life, doing everything twice. Dashing home, changing into my domesticated woman gear, setting the table, wiping the ecstasy off my face. And we'd sit, Bruce and me, at the table. "Delicious, darling," he'd say, "delicious." "So it should be," I'd say. "It's taken all day." "I'm lucky I found you," he'd say. And then he'd eat his pudding, making appreciative little murmurs. Give me a farewell peck on the cheek as he got up to take up the stranded whale position in the armchair. Still, it left me free to reflect on the afternoon. Free to be free. I could think of soft April rain, little plastic light shade, faded candlewick bedspread, and our thighs in silent conversation. Far away from umbrellas in the rush hour. Far away from potatoes boiling and puff pastry rising. Far, far away in a secret garden. I did feel guilty. Sometimes, yes. I mean, Bruce is a kind man. Sat up all night with a canary. Egg-bound it was. She's gone, he whispered as he crept into bed, and I thought as he put his arm round me and buried his head in my back that he didn't deserve my deceit. But before I could turn to him and begin to give him that small dark corner of me that was still his, he'd slumped into oblivion. And I knew that he'd abandoned all thoughts of me and the canary. And his mind had fled back to his office there to kiss and caress his bloody computer. Max and I had a song. He bought me the record. He didn't accompany it with words or a note or anything. He just slipped it into my bag one day before he left the hotel. I used to play it all the time when Bruce was out. Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe, and how. Ooh.
She loves it in there. She loves it.
No, just stick around and it will show. I don't know, I don't know. Something in the things she knows. And all I do is think. Last Christmas, Max and I had a row. We'd been to the room and we were sitting in the lounge having our coffee. Suddenly I thought of her, his wife, waiting like me with the turkey. I thought of him sitting in their living room like Bruce waiting. And the sheer intimacy of it all sent a great pain through me. I don't think I want this relationship anymore, I said. Why, he said. Because it's nothing, I said. It's lust. Just a quick poke in the dark. I'm worth more than that. He looked at me steadily. His brown eyes had gone black. Leave him then, he said. Leave him and come to me. It's funny. I'd never thought of that. What about her, I said. What about him, he said. Oh, so that's it, isn't it? I said, that's it. As long as there's her and him, there can't be us. You see, the thing is, I needed a row. I needed a storm to clear my sky. But Max surprised me. You're right, he said quietly. There can't be us. And I watched him walk out of the hotel. His back looked troubled. He didn't turn to look at me and, well, I was too proud to call him back. Oh, God, it was a terrible Christmas. The tree stood in the corner like a great monolith of doom. The lights kept failing, the baubles kept dropping off, and Bruce, completely unable to be anything but a tycoon, kept telephoning his secretary to see if everything was all right. Well, I sat in the kitchen behind a pyramid of sprouts and I tried to pretend I was in a sauna with Max. rolling and murmuring in the oily heat. And then in they came, the family entourage, wearing their silly hats and telling their silly jokes, singing their silly songs. We sat around, tearing the presents open and uttering the predictable phrases like, "Oh, isn't it lovely? Oh, it's just what I wanted. I didn't know what to get you. You seem to have everything." And then they surged to the table and lynched the food. Uncle Sid kept knocking the candles over. Auntie Lizzie kept treading on their dog. My sloth-like son-in-law told a joke that lasted the entire meal. My daughter Esme was sick, and my mute son-in-law, halfway through the pudding, made a gasping noise and had to go up to bed. By 4 o'clock, they were all lolling about in various states of alcoholism. The sloth was still trying to get the end of his joke out, and Bruce was lying in the armchair with the telephone on his stomach, ceaselessly dialing the wrong number. Finally, when they all sat glazed and incoherent in front of the television, I went upstairs to make my Christmas phone call to Max. See, the plan was that if his wife answered, I would say, "Is Carol there? Oh, sorry, I have the wrong number." And if Max answered, I would say quickly, "Happy Christmas, I love you." And he would say, "Sorry, you have the wrong number." And it was the same rule in reverse if he rang me. Anyway, when I got upstairs, Uncle Frederick was sitting on the bed crying. He said he always thought of his mother at Christmas time and he hadn't seen her for ages and it always made him feel guilty. Well, Auntie Sissy was trying to prevent him from taking all his clothes off and at the same time reminding him, with an amazing variety of expletives, that his mother only lived next door but one. So I had to smuggle the telephone into the bathroom. I could hear that dog crouch beneath the towel rail. He was guarding and growling over the remains of somebody's turkey leg. I dialed. He answered. "Happy Christmas, I love you," I said. "All this has got to stop," he said. "And don't bring me at home again." Oh, my heart froze. "I'll see you as usual," he said. "We must talk." I stood there with anger and hurt pride parading in my chest. I couldn't believe what I'd heard. "Bastard!" I shrieked. "You bastard!" Well, he put the phone down, and I sat on the edge of the bath. I felt as though I were drowning. Drowning. Well, somewhere in the middle of the night, they all went home. Clutching their parcels, they lurched into the driveway, and to the sound of departing ailing cars, I closed the front door and I picked my way through talcum powder, bath cubes and lavender soap. Bruce was lying in the chair wearing a paper hat. He'd unbuttoned the waistband of his trousers and somebody had stuck a Merry Christmas label on his stomach. Although this wasn't the real Bruce, the smart, dark-suited, pipe-smoking man with the black car and the custom-built charm, it seemed as if he was standing between me and something else. I didn't know what the something else was. I just knew that he was preventing it.
Pamela, everything all right? Did you check the answering machine? Yes, all right, darling, all right. Yes, I will. And you, darling. Bye. Last year, not that I remember too much about it, but I came out of the festive morass, holding my head in my hands and wanting to expire. I found Renee standing over me angrily. I remember she was wearing a strange plastic apron with little dolphins painted all over it. Her whole being seemed larger. Her voice seemed louder, and when she waved her arms up and down, the little dolphins seemed to be swimming all over her. "It's all right for you," she said, "sitting there, Christmas comes and goes and you don't even notice it. I've got all the worry, all the work and all the mess. She marched up and down the room, picking things up, plonking them down. You spend your entire life on the phone to your secretary, she said. I wonder you don't spend Christmas at the office. Save me sitting up all night with a bloody turkey. Well, this is where the art comes in, doesn't it? It's man's ability to keep vigilance over his woman. Perception, if you like. Renee was feeling jealous. I said to a neighbour of mine, I said, watch and listen. A woman is like a computer. Just press the right button and she'll reveal everything. He thought he was living in paradise. Clattered about the club as if he was on a pogo stick. You must get back to the wife, he'd say. She doesn't like to go to bed without me. Oh, poor sod. She's been banging away with the chap who does the communal gardens for the last 3 months that I know of. Just before Christmas, I had a little office celebration. Pamela's new boyfriend turned up to collect her. He stood there in his tight jeans and his studded leather jacket, the stuff of life oozing out of his pores. And suddenly I felt old. I felt as though everything was out of reach. Everything was going. Except Renee. I thought of her at home. Another afternoon of cabbage boiling, cushion plumping. And I said to myself, I'm a lucky man. I've got a good wife. It's time for us to stand and stare.
Max and I met on New Year's Eve. Same time, same place. I'd had time to compose myself and I was prepared for the cold stare, the rigid hug, the goodbye. I used to prepare myself in the same way for Bruce's mechanical ritual in bed. Max stood up when he saw me. The rich brown had come back into his eyes. Renee, he said, and he hugged me. Oh, Renee. Max. Max. And all of me melted. And then, as if nothing had happened, he took me by the hand and led me towards the little iron lift, the way he did on our first visit to the hotel. No polite chat, no build-up, just unabashed, untethered passion. I couldn't get his key in the door. And when he finally did, he trapped my coat in it. We giggled our way across that room with our arms around each other. And then, in between kisses and murmurs, we engaged in a feverish disrobing. I couldn't undo the buckle on his belt, and he was trying to undo my front-fastening bra at the back. Everything seemed to be made from heavy-duty elastic. When it came to the abandonment of the final garments, we hopped about and collided with each other as if we were doing some country dance. Finally, we threw ourselves on the bed in a frenzied heap. I'm sorry, he groaned. I am so sorry. It's all right, I whispered. It's all right. But I knew it wasn't. I watched him leave the hotel. This time he walked with a spring. The way Bruce lay like a stranded whale, Max walked with a spring. Men of consequence. Men who know how to make the earth shudder. I ordered another coffee, and I sat there, wondering what had changed. I could still hear his voice on the telephone. It was was like a cold hand touching my heart. Again, I likened it to Bruce's Delicious Darling. Little things, I thought. Tiny, almost non-existent things, and yet they raised barriers between me and them like an impenetrable stone. Little things, I thought, make big differences. Bruce had shot off the ladder of success now, was sailing in the sky somewhere far beyond me. With his computer hanging off one arm and his secretary hanging off the other. Oh, this bloody kitchen.
My new partner starts in January. I haven't told Renee yet. Christmas surprise, if you like. Yes, we'll buy a little cottage somewhere. Take time off. Give us some excitement. Love in the afternoon? Why not?
One good thing's happened. They've thought of the microwave now. Hello? Sorry, you have the wrong number. That was Graham. We met at the Stoke Hotel. I was paying for my coffee. Allow me, he said.
Oh, come, let us adore.